have 120 years to do everything that we can do, and then if we did great, so then we go to a world called Olam HaNeshamot, right, which is kind of like a waiting room, so to speak, until the Tchiyat HaMetim, the revival of the dead, and then once we come with the revival of the dead, we come back into our recomposed body, recomposed body, right, in the most pure fashion and way, and that's called Tchiyat HaMetim, and that's called Olam Haba. That's the world to come. The world to come, we're going to have bodies. Will they look exactly like these bodies? I don't know. You know? Will our perception of them be the same? I don't think so. Right? It's going to be on an ultimate plane. There's not going to, as it is today, you know, when you for some of you who maybe also myself who wasn't brought up religious, I remember when my first experience coming to the Kotel when I was 12 years old, and I remember seeing like really people like shuckling, like davening. It didn't look so spiritual to me, is the truth. Like I knew that this was the holiest place for the Jewish people, and like I was very moved by it. But I remember seeing people davening, like, you know, with these serious faces, strain. I saw strain, you know. I don't know if you guys noticed that, or if that, you know, you wondered about that. I remember thinking, what are they working so hard for, you know? And that's the truth is that in the physical world, our physicality limits our ability to be able to be attached spiritually, to experience spirituality. Think about all the people, the things they're doing to try to have a spiritual feeling. Think about the whole world of drugs, like, right? Someone should Google, you know, how much money goes into illicit drugs, illegal drugs, you know, a day. It's unbelievable, right? Just to try to get a little bit of a feeling of something beyond what we're experiencing, right? And so if we're trying to do it without drugs, right, without mind-altering substances, right, so we're working, right? Music. I mean, think about it. There's so much of an effort that we do. It almost feels like an oxymoron, because we are spiritual, right? If we weren't spiritual, we wouldn't be seeking spirituality so much. You know, the animal kingdom is not, you know, it's not really. They don't have a whole drug industry, and they're not doing meditation seminars, and they're not trying to find spirituality. They just talk about. But for us, we're seeking it so much because we are. But at the same time, it's so hard for it. It eludes us, right? And the reason why that's so is because the physicality really blocks so much of it, right? We have just enough light comes through, so it's not totally dark, in order that we remember what we're really trying to do, right? But not enough that we could just sit blissfully and experience the spirituality. Maybe we can have moments like that in our lives. B'ezrat Hashem, I bless all of you. You should have many moments like that, right? But that's really not the ultimate goal, so to speak, of this world. We try to attach ourselves in this world while we're in this world, while we're doing the mitzvot, right? You think that if Hashem wanted us to have, you know, I'm going to give you a Torah, and I really want it to be, I just want you guys to experience so much spirituality, right? So it looked more like, you know, like go to like some isolated, beautiful place. Like you have a mitzvah to live in the rainforest, you know, you have a mitzvah to live on the beach, and like to meditate there all day long, you know, like that's what you would think if spiritual practice. But Hashem has us running and doing all the mitzvahs, right? You look at the Shulchan Aruch; it's pretty big, right? We have Shulchan Aruch, right? There's so many things to do, right? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu keeps us busy, and the idea is really supposed to be attached to Hashem while you're doing that. But the level of attachment, the level of spiritual pleasure that you experience is so limited, right? In the future, our bodies are not going to block anything. The physical world is not going to block anything, because it's all going to be totally refined, right? Through everything all the process of death and the body and the soul coming back together, and the process of the world renewing itself, right? Like the prophet says. But so that answers your question, right? Yeah. A long-winded answer. Back to what we're saying here. Just the Ramchal is just giving us a little introduction to this idea, that reminding us that the ultimate connection with Hashem, the dveikus with Hashem, is really in the world to come after Tchias HaMesim. But that is the purpose of why we're here. When Sof Kol Gilgulav comes out, that after all of the different occurrences and cycles and things that a person goes through, Hine Hu Hamenucha Leolam Haba, that the ultimate rest really comes in the world to come, right? I would say the word menucha here maybe means relief for the spiritual pleasure and connection that we so seek in this world. Ultimately, it only comes in the world to come. Omnam, indeed, גזר חוכמה עליונה היות ראוי והנאות, שיקדם לזה מצבו בעולם הזה. Hashem's infinite wisdom, His exalted wisdom, determined that it would be appropriate and good that there would be a world that preceding that world to come should be our experience in this world. Nikshav v'nikba b'chukot hateva, that our soul should be bound, our experience here should be bound by the laws of, connected to and bound by the laws of this world, nature. V'zeh tiyeh hachana v'amitit v'aruya le'agia letachlit hanitzah. And this will be the proper and the true preparation for us to go to the world to come, right? To experience it. ולפי השורש הזה, סדרה כל ענייני זה עולם, להיות על ההכנה ולהזמנה למה שיהיה אחר כך בעולם התכליתי, שהוא העולם הבא. And therefore, it comes out that everything that we experience in this world, right? Sometimes, in those places in our mind that we don't want to speak out because we don't, we wonder, Hashem, why did you make the world like this exactly? Like, why is this a part of the world? I asked one of my Rabbanim once, what's this whole thing with eating and going to the bathroom? I think I've told you guys this before, right? Think about if we didn't have to eat. We wouldn't have to go to the bathroom, right? We wouldn't have to, wouldn't have to go shopping, wouldn't have to clean dishes, wouldn't have to prepare food.
Saves a lot of time.
Then we could really be involved in all the mitzvahs and everything, right? Why did Hashem do this thing that we're so dependent on food? Remember just how you feel after about a half a day of fasting, right? After a full day of fasting, we almost feel like we're on death's door. We're so sensitive to it. We're so sensitive. It's such an inbuilt part of our experience, right? Everything in this world, so I'm not going to go into all the depth of that, but everything in this world is how Kadosh Baruch Hu built this world, how we function in this world, is all a perfect preparation for us, for the world to come. Doesn't mean that we're going to necessarily eat in the world to come, or eat is going to look anything like we eat now in the world to come. What it means is that the experiences and how we relate to the experiences in this world, Kadosh Baruch Hu in His infinite wisdom saw that this is the way, and He designed it so, right? That the experiences should be like this, because that's a perfect preparation to ready us for the world to come. Okay, base. ההכנה הזאת, הנה היא סובבת על שני כתבים. This preparation that we have in this world, it revolves around two different dimensions, two different poles. האחד אישי, והשני כללי, והשני כללי. The first one is personal, private, like each individual person. And the second one is in general, mankind. האישי הוא עניין קניית האדם את שלמותו במעשיו. The first one, the individual, is that each individual person has to acquire for himself perfection. He has to perfect himself, refine himself, complete himself. והכללי הוא התכונן אמין האנושי בכללו לעולם הבא. The second one is that mankind also has to be ready for the world to come. Right? In other words, there's such a thing, as you guys know. A person's a huge tzaddik, perfected himself on every level. But so he should Olam Haba it should already happen for him right then. But it doesn't happen like that, because Olam Haba is not just an individual experience. It is an individual experience, but it's also an experience of all of mankind. All of mankind have to be prepared for it. So we're waiting for everybody else to also get everything together and to get their acts together, right? And that's why in Judaism there's so much of a focus, not just on my own personal perfection. There is a huge focus on that, but there's also a huge focus on strengthening Am Yisrael, strengthening others. They should be strong. Baba Rebbe spent a huge amount of energy and focus also on not just on the Jewish people, on mankind, trying to get people it's not just seeking my own benefit. That's I think that's one of the nekudot, a spark of truth in communism, right? Or in socialism, is the idea that everybody's got to. We got to be here for everybody, right? In capitalism, Of course, the opposite, right? And not to bash capitalism, but capitalism, it's all about just me, at the expense of others. טוב, ופירוש זה העניין הוא כי היות המין האנושי נברא ביצר טוב וביצר רע ובחירה. And now, to explain this a little bit further, says Ramchal, mankind was created with a yetzer tov and a yetzer ra, and with choice. We have the ability to choose. הנה לא יימנע אפשרות בחלקיו להיות מהם טובים ומהם רעים. So then it comes out, so there's a reality, a potential reality that some people choose bad and some people choose good. Some people become, right? וסוף הגלגול צריך שיהיה שיודחו הרעים. And in the end, all evil has to be eradicated. Right? So if a person just adamantly chooses bad, and makes those choices in his life, eventually, so that he'll also have to be eradicated in that sense. In the end, right, when it comes to Tchiyat HaMetim, the world to come, there's not going to be any Rishayim there. There's not going to be any of the evil that we have in our lives and in the world today. Right? So where are those people that made those decisions and stuck to those decisions, right? Without any redeeming qualities, what's going to happen to them? So here it says that they're not going to be there. Ramchal says, and all the good is going to be gathered together, all the good, and there's going to become a perfected society. And for that perfected society, Olam Haba is designated for them, but Tov Amiti Musag Bo, and all the good that is there. Ulam Choka Bechira Shema. You guys know that you probably have seen by now. The Ramchal, he explains a general concept, and then he says, he shows all the exceptions to the rule, and then explains how it, right, in more detail. ואולם חוק הבחירה שמכריח האפשרות שזכרנו בחלקי המין האנושי. And since we have a law of free will, we have a reality of free will in mankind. Liyotam tovim or ra'im. A person can choose to be good or to choose to be bad. V'chen liyot k'tzatam tovim k'tzatam ra'im, or could be some, it could be some good and some bad. הוא עצמו מכריח אפשרות זו גם כן במעשה כל איש מאיש משאי ימין. So it's true on a global level, mankind level. And it's also true on the personal level, the person's actions. A person can choose that all of his actions will be good, or he can choose that all of them will be bad. Or he can choose some of them good, some of them bad. And this is what prevents this ability that Hashem gave us, which on one hand that's our ticket to be able to receive, to have dveikus with Hashem, right? Because remember that we said that Hashem could have just given it to us for free, but in His wisdom, He saw that, in His ultimate wisdom, He saw that if we don't earn it, it will not be the ultimate good, and the ultimate good is that we earn it. So therefore, He gave us free will, but it's free will which kind of also causes a big problem in the world, because people can choose bad, and as long as me as an individual, I can choose good and good, become a perfect tzaddik, right? But that only helps me, but that doesn't necessarily help. I mean, of course, it influences the rest of society to some degree. But until everybody is choosing good, so we still don't have a perfected society to be able to receive that dveikus as a perfect society, right?
I have a question. But aren't we created like this?
What do you mean? Say again?
Aren't we created like this to have good and bad in us?
To have good and bad, and then we choose between it, right?
Yeah. So it's in our nature.
Right, but we wouldn't say, and this I think it's a really important question, a really important point. It's a fair, and it's also a fine distinction. We don't have good and bad in us. We have an inclination towards good and an inclination towards bad, right? So when we talk, a lot of times we talk in kind of loose terminology. We say, yeah, I've got a yetzer hara. I've got every one of us has an aspect of Amalek inside of us in like terminology like that. But the truth is, it's all borrowed terminology. Really, our soul is perfectly good, perfectly pure. Nothing in the world can taint it. It's perfection. It's purity. But we have an inclination towards good and an inclination towards bad, right? And we're always having to choose between that. right? So but once we choose good, right? So eventually a person can get to a place like the Tanya describes, like, David HaMelech, my heart, the place for my Yetzer Hara, I totally eradicated it. A person can't get to that place, right? And ultimately, mankind has to get to that place, right? So you see the kind of the catch-22 here. Free will is what allows us to be able to attach to Hashem, but it's also the thing that's stopped. Like, because there's free will, Iran is still doing what they're doing. The Yemenites are still doing what they're doing. Like, and so many individuals around the world are still making bad choices, right? And that blocks us, that stops us, that prevents us from the shlemus that we're trying to reach. And also, not only just on a global level, on a human level, but also on an individual level. A person he has lots of good things that he's done and lots of bad things that he's done, right? And his deeds. Now, for Hashem to say, okay, you know what? I'm only gonna look at the good. I'm not gonna look at the bad, right? So or even if that's the majority, look, he's got 80% good and he has 20% bad deeds. He said, Ramchal says that wouldn't be true justice, right? And Hashem loves justice. It's true that Hashem loves us more than He loves justice, but Hashem loves justice. It says we have lots of psukim that talk about that. The Zohar talks about it at length, right? Kishurat adin notenet shekol ha'maasim yugmalu. The letter of the law, so to speak, the pure justice that Hashem wants in this world is that every action that a person has done should be related to, should be judged, right? Should be judged, but should receive its appropriate response, effect in the world. Hen gedolim and ktanim, whether it's big things, big deeds, or small deeds. Hen harbe, hen hameat, whether it's the majority, whether it's the minority. This we have a teaching that no matter what good a person has done in his life, even if he's done a lot of terrible things, right? Chas v'shalom, to think that, okay, so he's done so much bad, so we're going to erase the good, right? From heaven's perspective, it's not erased, right? Lo mekapeach, Kadosh Baruch Hu lo mekapeach schara shel shum birya, it says. Hashem doesn't withhold reward from any creation. Any person, even if they did, one time they did a good deed and the rest of their life was filled with evil, right? We're going to learn today exactly how He does it, right? But Hashem doesn't hold back. And so too, if a person did so much good, but he did certain negative things, they don't go unanswered. There's some type of tikkun that he has to undergo for that in order to reach his perfection, right? And that's the punchline, that last line that I just said. The whole reason why Hashem does this mishpat, this justice, is in order to bring us to perfection. In order to right? It would be like if a person, if you're in charge of a car wash, and the person comes in and he wants his car perfectly clean. So look, it's 90% clean. Yeah, so we'll let it pass. No, it has to be 100% clean. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it that in order for us to receive that ultimate good, we have to be 100% clean. So all the different things that we're talking about is just different forms of Hashem cleansing us and perfecting us, right? Now to cleanse, like there's one thing to clean the windshield, and then there's that deep grime that's on the hubcaps of the tires, right? Now you got to scrub a little more, right? And it's less pleasant, right? It gets on your hands, it's sticky, right? So we have to. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it 100% clean. Okay, next paragraph. Therefore, Hashem decided, He determined that it would be best to separate the reward or the recompense for his deeds, whether it's for reward or whether it's for punishment. And again, punishment, we also have to make a little twist in our mind, a tweak in our mind. Punishment is not like how we understand punishment. Punishment in the world that we live in is you must suffer. You did something bad, so you must suffer, right? really maybe philosophically they talk about it in ways because it's corrective punishment, right?
Like here, you mean? Like,
In this world, yeah.
yeah, because it's not schafe onesh. It's the step before.
Right. So we're mad at you because you did something bad. And I'm talking about the way human beings punish others. You did something bad. You robbed a bank. You have to sit in jail for 10 years.
It's an action and a cause. Like it's
Right.
it is and no it is.
Right. But the actual
it's not about
punishment,
justice.
the punishment doesn't actually do anything for the person,
Exactly.
right? And we have lots of proof of that in Israel. All these terrorists that get released and what happened? I go back to terror like 2 days later, right? So it's the corrective punishment system is not really doing its work, but punishment in the sense of Torah is only to cleanse and to correct a person, right? And it does it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that created it, so he's the one that does it, and it works, right? But so we have to. So when we hear the word punishment, I don't know. For me, when I hear the word punishment, I get like this little, I don't like it. I don't like that word. I don't like the concept because it's just like, you're just hurting me, But I made a mistake, let's say, and I have to get hurt. I have to get punished for that. No, the idea is like if you're learning, I don't know. Let's say you're learning an instrument. Just as a example, and your teacher says to put your fingers just like this, right? And you put it in the wrong way. So then he picks up your finger, right? And he puts it in the right way. So that feels like that's a certain form of punishment. It's corrective. I'm correcting in order that you'll be able to do it, right? Depending on how deeply a person has strayed and lost track and made bad decisions, his corrective punishment it can be more. It has to be more deep, right?
But there's still room for correction. That's the big difference, right? It's not an ultimate end judgment. It's
exactly.
There's still room for correction.
Not only is there room for it, that's the whole purpose.
Yeah.
All punishment in Hashem's terms is just for a correction, right? Sometimes a correction we'll see. Sometimes correction is is pretty intense, but right. But that's the whole purpose, because Hashem didn't create this world just like in a mistaken way. And like, okay, now these guys really messed up, and I'm going to hurt them bad, because they really bought, Lahavdil, Elef al Dei Avdalas, Trump gets mad at, countries that don't listen to him, and, it's like, everybody's worried to get Trump mad, We're not worried to get Hashem mad, but Hashem's not worried about us getting him mad and all that type of thing, right? He created the world a certain way. This is the way it runs. This is the system, right? And Hashem has a perfect system that if we're not playing ball, so then he'll make it that we end up playing ball because he wants to give us the good, right? Not because he has to have it his way because of his own pride or something like that, right? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided that the both with reward and with punishment that it's separated into two times. When Hashem the recompense comes in two different times. Shnei zmanim u'shnei mekomot, 2 times and 2 places. Hainu. In other words, in general, our actions are separated into the majority and the minority, right? Chazal talk about this. In the Gemara, it says you should always view yourself as if you're hanging the balance. You got, 50% good deeds, 50% bad deeds, even if it's not true. You should view yourself, and like this next one is going to determine, where you lie, right? But the Gemara talks about in several different places that our actions are separated into the majority and the minority, right? So, v'yudan arov levado, and the majority is judged in one place and in one time. B'makom uzman aruylo, in a time that's appropriate for it. V'amiut levado b'makom v'azman aruylo, and the minority of our actions are judged in a time and a place that's appropriate for them. So, it's not universal for everybody. So let's see how it works. V'ulam hagmul amiti v'ikaro yeh b'olam haba. The ultimate recompense and reward, right, for our actions that we've done in this world, the reward is going to be in the world to come. As we mentioned, and what's the ultimate reward? Is that a man gets to Hishaer Adam Hazoche Netzchi, that person gets to be there forever, and to have that person that merits it, and gets to have tremendous dveikus with Hashem Yisbarach, eternal dveikus with Hashem, right? The onesh. So what's the onesh? What's the that's the ultimate reward. What's the ultimate punishment? Is that he doesn't get to be there. He doesn't get to be there. You know, like when you think about terrible Rishonim, you know, and they didn't have such a terrible life in this world, and then they leave this world, and they die, and you're like, wow, you know, wish they could have, you know, got to see the payback a little bit in this. As kids, when we were little kids, we used to talk about, you know, if we could get our hands on Hitler, what would we do to him? Imagine all the little kids talking about the way we'd like to punish him, you know. I remember when Yasser Arafat, when he died, you know. You guys, you know, Yasser. Yeah. So this man had so much Jewish blood on his hands, so much Jewish blood. It caused so much tsar for our people, and he had, you know, millions and millions of dollars in houses in different places, and you know, and he was so he was so evil, and then he just died, you know, and I remember somebody saying in yeshiva, I was in yeshiva at the time. I remember someone said, "Wow, he's gonna have some serious Gehenna," you know. You know, after all that he did. I mean, if you're gonna choose something bad in your life, choose anything, but don't like hurt Jewish people. That's like the worst thing you could possibly choose to do, you know. Like, and that was his whole life, you know, kill Jewish people. And I remember thinking, like, no, like, he's not gonna have any Gehenna.
On that topic, expect sirens.
Oh,
but like my Rav back in the Netherlands,
Got an alert.
he told me that like for Jews if you cannot come to the Olam Haba, if you want to come, you have to do through the cleaning. It's like this world is the Olam Hazeh, is the world like it's upside down. Things that should not matter, they matter in people's lives, and it's like it's hafuch. But in the next world, you see people learning Torah, and you cannot learn Torah. So that's is it right? Like, how do you elaborate it? It's like then you want to learn Torah, but you're not wanted in Olam Hazeh.
That's an analogy. It's a metaphor that the idea is that the reward is that you get to be there, you get to go there, and you get to have that dveikus. The punishment is you just don't get in, right?
And you see people enjoying and
that. Where is it? Oh, it sounded like it was coming from here. Where do we go here in Makom Mir? No, okay.
So it's
we should pause it.
Like, it's funny.